So we're now on the top of Daf Samach Gimel Amid Beis, and the Gemara clarifies my la behelech v'Rabbi Nosson, not the way we suggested it when we were talking about the Rabbanon who hold holich kischi, but rather we're going to change the girsa in the Reisha, and it's going to say helech. Now, I'm not exactly sure why the Gemara has this agenda that compels the Gemara to reconcile the Reisha of the Mishnah with Rabbi Nosson, who holds holich lav kischi, and therefore we have to change the girsa from holich to helech. I don't understand that. But in any event, what the Gemara is saying now is that this is a case of not holech kischi dami, but helech kischi dami, which even Rabbi Nosson agrees that helech is kischi dami. Helech means here, take the get, and that's it. Shalom al Yisrael yor megureshes. And that's the chiddush of our Mishnah, that even Rabbi Nosson, who holds holech lav kischi dami, agrees that helech is kischi. And once the Baal agrees that the shliach should be zochab on behalf of the isha, he cannot be choser bo, and the shliach now serves as a shliach lekabbalah. Lo, let's go back to the old girsa that we have. Holech Rebbe. It's like Rebbe and Tanakama, and it's holech. And therefore holech kischi. Toshma, our Mishnah says lefichach. Once we establish that he doesn't have the possibility to be choser bo once the get was given over to the shliach, therefore, if the Baal wants to be choser bo, then his only option is im amar lo abal. If the Baal says the shliach efshi shetekabel lo, I don't want you to be makabel the get and serve as a shliach lekabbalah. Ela holech v'tein la. I want you to give the get over there, not here but there. Maybe he was insulted by the fact that she appointed a shliach lekabbalah. I don't know what. Is Ratzalach Yachsa now until she gets the get can be chos. Effect the Gemara, Taima di Amar Yefshi. The only reason why we said that the shliach cannot serve as a shliach lekabbalah, and therefore the Baal could be choser until she gets the get is the Amar Yefshi, because he said explicitly, I don't want you to be a shliach lekabbalah. Holo Amar Hachi Yefshi. If he didn't say those words, Yefshi of Ratzalach lo Yachsa, then the shliach could serve as a shliach lekabbalah. And again, we're going to have to assume that the proper girsa, if we want to reconcile this with Rabbi Nosson, who holds that holech lav kischi, is my la behelech for Rabbi Nosson. That Rabbi Nosson concedes that if he says helech, it means you be a shliach lekabbalah. Lo, the Gemara rejects it, but holech for Rebbe. Once again, we go back to assuming that the girsa is holech, and we're holding holech kischi dami, and this reflects the shita of Rebbe, and therefore the only reason why the Baal could be choser bo is only if he says he efshi. Toshma, the Gemara now wants to be poshet from an explicit brisa. What is the opinion of Rabbi Nosson? Toshma, we learned in a brisa the Baal says the shliach lekabbalah, who was appointed by the isha. Holech gets eli ishti rotzalach lachzor yachzor, but helech get lishti rotzalach lo yachzor. If he said holech, and now we're going to Rabbi Nosson that holech lav kischi dami, and therefore the Baal has no interest in the shliach serving as shliach lekabbalah. He rejects that, and rather the Baal wants the shliach to be a shliach lo lacha. Therefore, he could be choser bo. But if the Baal said to the shliach helech instead of holech helech, then he's accepting the function or the role of the shliach as a shliach lekabbalah, and therefore he cannot be choser. And the Gemara now fears this hochacha, this proof. Man shamet le'yama b'holech rotzalach yachzor. Who's the one who says the holech lav kischi? Rebbe Nosson. And yet the brisa says that behelech rotzalach lo yachzor, because helech is kischi dami, and the shliach was accepted by the Baal as a shliach lekabbalah. Shmamino helech kischi dami shmamino. Now the Gemara brings the opinion of Rav with regard to holik is chidami itmar. His Kabbalah Gittin. She said to the shliach, "I want you to be a shliach lekabbalah." And now the shliach comes to the Baal. He says, "Ishcha amar es Kabbalah Gittin." Fine, everything so far is glad. Who omer? What was the Baal's response? Holech v'tein. Now this is a little bit of a monkey wrench because he didn't just say holech, which according to Rebbe means holech is chidami, and the Baal had accepted the shliach kabbalah, but rather he said holech v'tein. When he adds the words v'tein, he indicates that he wants the shliach to be a shliach leholacha. In other words, we're not sure what exactly is the status of the shliach. We have a suffix, and whenever you have a suffix and a davar shebe'erva, we have to go l'chum. On the one hand, the Baal said holech v'teila, implying that he wants the shliach to be a shliach leholach. On the other hand, she appointed the shliach as shliach lekabbalah. So now what happens is the shliach is on his way to deliver the get, and the Baal dies, and he has a brother, and he has no children. So now we have a suffix. If we accept the role of the shliach lekabbalah, then she's megureshes, and therefore she doesn't need chalitza. She can marry anyone except for Kohen. But if on the other hand is a shliach leholacha, and the get would only be chal when it came to her hands, by that time the Baal is dead, the get can't be chal, and therefore she falls for yibam, and she needs chalitza to be matal l'shuk. And therefore, because of this suffix, Rav Paskins choletzes v'lo misiya bemes. So the Gemara says, we have a stira between this statement of Rav and another statement of Rav. L'meimer should be based on this statement of Rav. The mesafkele Rav vacillates back and forth. I holech is chidami, lav is chidami. The Baal said holech, and if we assume holech is chidami, then the shliach should be a shliach kabbalah, and therefore even when the Baal dies, she does not fall for yibum. She's a grusha. But now we said that according to Rav, she needs chalitza mitzad suffik because maybe holech lav kischidami. We have another statement of Rav that contradicts this one. And now we're talking about piron chov. Basically, the rule is that the lova has to guarantee that the money is returned to the malva. And if the money is lost on the way, the lova is responsible. But he said to the shliach, holech mana leploni shani chayev lo omar Rav. Rav says if the money got lost on the way, chayev achar yuso, the lova has to pay back the chov. And the reason for this is because the malva was not the one who initiated this shlichus. He didn't say to the lova, send it in the hands of a shliach. That was the decision and the initiative of the lova. And therefore, the lova is still responsible. In Baal Lachzor, if after the money was given by the lova into the hands of the shliach, the lova decides to be mavatel the shlichus, eino chosev. Why? Because Rav holds holek ischid on it. And here there's a tremendous lumdus here, which again would require hours and hours of work. Because the Rif holds that there are tzvei dinim here. There are two different dinim. When it says that holek ischid on it doesn't mean that the malva got his money back. The lova for sure has to pay back the money to the malva. But rather, holek is chidami means that the lova cannot cancel the shlichus. That's all it means. A din in hilchas shlichus. And he writes here in the footnote that mikom makom nevad amona chayav halova b'achriyusa. Al af she'ein halova yachol lachzor bo, and that's what holik ischidami means. Mikom makom adayin lo yotza amos mirshuso kol zman shelo yigia lidei amalva. Lochein chayav b'achriyusa. Now, it's dinim here. It's kischidami as far as removing the ability of the lova to cancel the shlichus, but as far as where the money is, it's not in the rishus of the malva, and therefore the lova is chayav and achrayus. In any event, it's crystal clear here that Rav holds holik kischidami, and that's why he cannot be mavato the shlichus. And we had our original statement of Rav that he was mesupak about it. And the Gemara answers the following: Rav is in a suffix about the din of holik chasam, and therefore we have to apply the rules that apply to suffix. There, in the case of Piron Chov suffix mamona lekula, we're going to say that the malve was zoche with the Kabbalas Hashlichus. The lov is now the motzi mechaver of a raya, and he cannot be chozerbo, because we're going to say holik is chidami mitzad safek mamon of uki mamona b'cheskasei. The money is now in the chazaka of the mal, but hach in the case of a shaleach get. Here we have a whole different set of rules that operate in case of suffix. Suffix is surah l'chumra, and Rav doesn't know whether or not the shlichus was that of a shliach l'kabbalah, and therefore the gerushin is chal, she doesn't need a chalitza, or maybe holech lav kischidami, and therefore she's not megureshes. Just 1 second. Let me get that one more time. Get the cheshbon here. Rav is mesufak if holik kischida means she does not need chalit. So a holik lav kischida means since he died before the get reached the hands of the isha, she needs chalitza. Omar Rav eino isha osa shliach lekabbalah gita biyad shliach baila. The Baal sent a shliach leka leolacha. She cannot appoint a shliach lekabbalah to accept the get from the hands of the shliach lekabbalah leolacha the Baal. So again, we're talking about two different shluchim. One shliach was the shliach of the Baal. Now she wants to appoint a second shliach to receive the get from the shliach of the Baal. Is according to Rabbi Chanina, she could do so. Later on, we'll see that according to Rav Nachman, even if it's the same shliach, she can do so. And Rav says no, she cannot appoint a shliach l'olach and make him into a shliach l'kabbalah. Or even if she wants to appoint another shliach as a shliach l'kabbalah, she cannot do so. My time of the Rav, and the Gemara offers two possible explanations to Rav with an afkamin. Iba is according to one and to me should be zoyd the Baal. The Baal was very makbid on the fact that she doesn't want to accept the get. She sends a shliach, and he takes that as a personal insult that she's mizalzeles bo, and therefore he doesn't want to be megarish her through the Kabbalas Hashliach. But if the Baal himself gives the get to a Shliach LeKabbalah of the Isha, then we're not Choshesh, because he gave the get to the Shliach, and he said, I'm giving it to the Shliach LeKabbalah. Another explanation of Rav is Mishum Chatzera Aboli Achinkam. We have a Gzeira D'Rabbanan Atu, a case where the Baal put the get in his Chatzer, and then she made a kinyan on the Chatzer. That's called Tli Gittin Begabi Karak. So therefore the Chachamim said the following: if we'll be matir the Isha to appoint a shliach lekabbalah, and receive the get from the hands of the shliach of the Baal, who's the shliach le'holacha, after the Baal already gave the get over to the shliach le'holacha, then it's going to look awfully similar to a case of the Baal putting the get into his chatzer. You know what? That's a more complicated case. Let me go with the simple case. The Baal put the get into someone else's chatzer, and then she made a kinyan on that chatzer from somebody else. And the spectator is going to mistakenly jump to the following conclusion: that just like she can appoint the shliach lekabbalah to receive the get from the shliach le'holacha, and once the get was in the hands of the shliach le'holacha, it's like the get was already taken out of the hands of the Baal, and now she's sort of like acquiring the get through her initiative of appointing the shliach as a shliach lekabbalah. That's exactly like her being kona the chatzer after the Baal had already put the get into the chatzer. My binayu, we can be nayu the kodma eve shavye shliach meikar. Let's say in the opposite scenario, it's not where he, the Baal, appointed a shliach le'holacha, and then she, the isha, wants to appoint a shliach kabbalah. But rather, initially at time T1, she appointed a shliach lekabbalah, and the Baal has not yet given the get over to the shliach le'holacha. And here's going to be the nafkamina. As far as Kapein to the Baal, here too there's a bizayin to Baal. She doesn't want to accept the get. She sends a shliach to accept the get. And therefore the Baal doesn't want to give the get to the shliach lekabbalah of the isha. But if we go with the second reason of chatzer shabal liachamikan, here it's not included in the gzeira mishum chatzer because she appointed a shliach before the Baal gave the get to the shliach of the Baal. And therefore, it's not at all similar to the case of Chatzer Habol Yachamika, where the Baal had already put the get into the Chatzer, then she made a kinyan on the Chatzer. Gemara tells the following story. Ahu gathered the shadle Gittin lebeisit. A man sent to shliach to his wife through a shliach halach. Azel shlicha ashkecha ki yosva v'kol. She was busy kneading a dough. Amar lo. Hey, Gittin, I have brought you a get from your husband. Will you receive it? You hold on to it. In other words, I want you to be my shliach lekabbalah. Amar Rav Nachman, Isol Rab Chanina. Right, Rab Chanina was the one who said that she can appoint a shliach lekabbalah after the Baal had appointed a shliach leholacha. Avdi bei ufta. Then I would be machshir this get, based on the halacha ki Rabbi Chanina. Im Isa, if we only knew that the halacha is like Rabbi Chanina, and we could machshir the get. Which means that she can appoint the shliach halachas of the Baal as a shliach lekabbalah on her behalf. And Rava disagrees. Rava is going to say to Rav Nachman, that's not what Rabbi Chanina had in mind. In Isa, Rabbi Chanina, even if we paskin like Chanina, and of this bar uvda, and we're going to paskin and implement the law based on Rabbi Chanina, even Rabbi Chanina would agree that if it's the same shliach, he can't be wearing two hats. He cannot be both a shliach of the Baal and a shliach l'isha at the same time. And why is that? She appointed this person as a shliach l'kabbalah. At that point, the shliach is no longer a shliach of the Baal, but rather shliach of the isha. And therefore, there was no period of time in which the shliach could go back to the Baal, who sent him as a shliach, and say to him, "Asisi shlichuscha, I was molech the get," because she appointed him as a shliach lekabbalah. So he didn't do any shlichus as halacha. and therefore the shlichus of the Baal is not chal. Shalchu lekami to Rabbi Ami. This question was asked to Rabbi Ami regarding this halacha that the shlichus is batal because it's ain't a chodzeres etzel bala. Shalach lehu, and Rabbi Ami responded, lo chazor shlichus etzel bal. So therefore, the shliach habal cannot function as a shliach ha'isha. So therefore, the shliach habal would only be mekayim shlichus when the get is delivered to the isha, but not before that. The shliach cannot function as a shliach l'kabbalah. Reb Chanina bar Abba Omar nisyashi b'dobri. I have a suffix about it. I have to think about it. Hadu shulchol lekami to Reb Chanina bar. So they sent it a second time. Omar Reb Chanina says, Kol hani sholchu levi ozli. All these times that you send these shluchim to ask me this question, and I can't give you a clear answer, just like you don't know the answer to the question, I don't know the answer to the question. And therefore, Avi Dover Shebe'erva and Dover Shebe'erva Choletzes. We left with a suffix. And therefore, Choletzes, she needs Chalitza. Havi Uvda. There was another case where she appointed the Shliach, the Shliach Habal, she appointed the Shliach Kabbalah, the Atzrecha, Rabbi Yitzchak bar Shmuel bar Marta, get for Chalitza. So Gemara thinks that she needs both a get, a second get, and a Chalitza. Tarte? That doesn't make any sense. Could Rabbi Yitzchak actually be saying that you need both a get and a Chalitza? That's a steer minei ubeh. If she received her get after the Baal was sent a second get and the Baal is still alive, then second get is chal, the Baal is still alive, she doesn't need chalitza. So Gemara just changes the gears a little bit. Get michai v'chalitza lachar misa. That if the Baal is still alive, then she needs a second get. And if, on the other hand, the Baal died and he didn't get a chance during his lifetime to replace the get with a second get, then she needs chalitza. And that's basically a psak l'chum. Hahidi havi korele naf asa. There's a woman by the name of naf asa, but they miswrote her name in the get. Ozil sadi because of taf asa. So now the question is, can these Shluchei Habal now write a second get? Omer Rabbi Yitzchak Omer Shmuel Matish Rav Asu Evim Shlichusam. They only get one shot, and therefore they messed up. Their shlichus is already panned out, so to speak, and they cannot write a second get. Maskifle Rabba Mika Armaluk Suvu Chaspa V'Havile. When the Baal said to the shluchim that they should write a get, he meant they should write a piece of pottery. Obviously, they wanted to get kosher. Elama Rabba Vadai Kosa Basadis Gitamalia the Avad Asu Edim Shlichusa. So Rabba is convinced that if they made a mistake in the get, and the get is therefore possible, then the shluchei Baal will write a second get and replace the first one. But in a case where the get was kosher, but then it was lost, says Rabbah, here I agree that asu edim shlichusa. They cannot replace this get that was lost with a second get. They already fulfilled their shlichus. Again, the chaspa b'alma, in a case where they wrote the wrong name, that's not considered fulfillment of the shlichus. But in a case where the get was written properly and the shliach loses the get, in such a case, that's it. Their shlichus is completely terminated. Maskiv Rav Nachman doesn't even agree to that. Mikar Malu Kisva and Chu Bekisayu. Did the Baal mean to appoint them and have them put the get into their pockets? Obviously, the Baal wants the get to be chal by giving it to the Isha. El Omer Rav Nachman Kosu Nos Nafilu Mea Pa'am. If the get was possible, they could rewrite it. If the get was lost, they replace it, and they could give 100 different Gittin until finally, bingo, she gets the get. Now what happens is, in the question that Rav asks Rav Nachman, the Baal says to two people, write a get for my wife and hand it over to so-and-so to be my shliach. Does that mean that the Baal is indicating he only wants that person to be the shliach? And therefore, once they give over the get to the shliach, that's the end of their shlichus. They were not appointed to deliver the get to the isha. Dilma, maybe the Baal was only making it easier for them. They don't have to schlep all the way to the isha, but rather they could appoint that guy as a shliach. But if they cannot appoint as a shliach, then they themselves could become the shluch. Amalei Ravina Ravashi. On the tzad of the suffix of Rava, that according to one side it was Saluke, what's the language? Saluke Solik Lahu. That once they gave her the get to that shliach, that's it. Their shlichus is terminated. It's gone. What happens if the Baal says, "Kisu get lish to tnula shliach v'yolech lo mahu"? Since he added the words v'yolech lo, then he basically is saying to them, you know what? Make sure that the get gets to our hand. If the shliach can't do it, then you'll do it. Or should we say no, that even in this case, they fulfilled and completed and terminated their shlichus with the writing of the get. And if that get that was given over to the shliach is lost or whatever, possible, you cannot replace it with a second get taker. The Mishnah says, Reb Shimon Gamliel Omer, Afo Meres Toli Gite Imrotz Alachsalo Yachzor. Tana Rabbana, we learned in the Brisa, Toli Visoli V'Yaheli V'Yodcha Kulam Lashon Kabbalahim. Any of the Lashonos, if the Isha says to the Shliach, either Toli, receive the get for me, Soli, carry the get for me, or it should be in your hands for me. In all these cases, she appointed the Shliach L'Kabbalah. And now we get to the Mishnah here on the bottom of Daf Samach Gimel and Beis. But frankly speaking, I am totally exhausted. I'm not going to tell you how much sleep I got last night, but I'm a wet rag. And this Daf Samach Gimel that we learned today should require weeks of study. So we'll start the Mishnah B'li Neder tomorrow on the bottom of Daf Samach Gimel Amid Beis. Wishing you a great day.